On Kentuckiana's news, weather, and traffic station, 84 WHAS.
It's our 75th anniversary party. This is Joe Elliott in the studio with El Metzo, Tony Cruz, Rick Belcher, the WHAS program director. They're all here. We'll be talking to some other folks throughout the night here. Just a quick story here, Milton, before we get into some other things. Did you ever have a guest who just went absolutely ballistic on you?
What do you mean, in what way, Joe?
Well, I had a guest one night who showed up drunk.
Oh, yeah?
Did you ever have a guest who...
I produced the show. I know.
Tony produced the show.
And I know her, too.
Yeah,
I think I introduced you to her.
I think you did, Metz.
I'll tell you what happened one night. I had a Hollywood dog trainer. And in the middle of the program, he told me he had to leave. He had a trained dog, could do all those kinds of things. He had to leave to catch a plane back to... L.A., and he hadn't told me that before. I said, well, I can't go on. I said, I don't know anything about you're taking your dog with you, and I don't know anything about it. You should have told me. He says, I'm sorry. And he stormed out of the studio, and as he did, the dog bit me in the leg. Now, you think you got it tough.
The dog didn't give him any respect either. Huh?
The dog was a little better trained than you thought.
What can I tell you? We're about 9 minutes before 10 from 84 WHAS. One of the gentlemen who used to fill in for El Metzo and was a longtime voice on this radio station is with us via the telephone now. He was here from 1950 to 1975. And he was one of my idols growing up, because this is one of those guys who could look at 12 pages of copy for about 30 seconds and read it absolutely flawlessly. And he joins us from his home tonight. Ray Shelton is with us. Ray, how are you?
Joe, I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm doing very well.
How are you?
Hello, Milton. Hello, Rick.
Hi, Ray.
And others in the studio. You say such nice things, Joe. Go right ahead.
Oh, you were the...
Don't stop, huh?
You were the man. And in fact, if I can just interject a quick personal note, I knew Ray. He in fact, did some teaching with me at his broadcasting school. I went to his school back about the time I was 15 years of age, and when other people were encouraging me not to get into this business and all of that kind of thing, Ray was always very encouraging and always very helpful. And I've never forgotten that, Ray, and I always appreciate the encouragement that you gave me over the years.
I'm proud to say I'm glad that you have done so well, and you do a great job on the show.
Well, you used to host this show many nights, didn't you, when in Milton's absence?
Right. I guess 15, 17 years, something like that. I never had the dog bite, though.
Ray, tell him what my nickname for you is.
It's Honey Throat. Now, that's
Honey
Throat.
Honey Throat is...
Well, that's appropriate.
That is
a compliment.
Oh, absolutely.
I want to ask you, Ray, as you have been a long-time broadcaster and still do some commercial work, all those kinds of things. Are the skills that were necessary to be a great broadcaster back in the days that you were breaking in, are those the same skills that you need today?
Oh, I hardly think so. For instance, let me contrast. I went there 47 years ago when Paul Clark, a prince of a guy, hired us all, as Milt will tell you, and we did what we said, staff announcing. I think there were 7 or 8 at one time, Milt.
Yeah, there were a lot.
Yeah, and so you did anything from a station ID to maybe a network feed if it came along. But basically, a few other fellas were doing talent shows, but you did about anything that came along. And then Paul, of course, scheduled somebody to cover all periods of the broadcast day. There was never anybody who wasn't either in the booth or close by. Very little pre-recorded material. Commercials were done live. So it's a whole different world at this point than it was then, because most of you fellas are hired as talent, and you don't really do such things as staff anymore. Most things are pre-recorded, I think, right?
And you would do... You might have 6 commercial reads a day for a particular sponsor, as I understand it, and you were responsible for hanging around and being here at 1:12 or 2:32 or whatever it was and reading those things live.
Sure. You do your staff shift, and if you had somebody paying a little bit of a talent fee, in those days it was a small amount, you would hang around to do that commercial, perhaps before or after your regular shift. But I was in awe when I came there, because I was at a small station here. I won't mention the call letters. And, I got to work with Jim Walton, Milton, Tom Brooks, Bob Lawson, people like that. So it was really a step up for me.
Ray, what was that? Occasionally network shows would come to town, and you auditioned, and you were the announcer for the national hookup. Was it Art Linkletter or?
No, I got to do the show for the Sullivan Show, but that was on the TV side.
Well,
Sullivan Show in '71, just before he ended his run.
You were the sixth Beatle, weren't you?
Right, well,
didn't you spend a summer as a staff announcer in for CBS or something?
no, I got a chance to go. I auditioned CBS in '53. And what it was a summer hire, and I picked the top three, and number one went. Number two, I did not go, and number three, a fellow named Bill Gilliam did go, and stayed about 22 years with CBS, just retired a couple of years ago. So it was good and nice to be asked to go up with CBS.
You did so many things here, many of them on the TV side. You did TV weather, as Milton did. You did that for about 4 years, and so many other things. But you were also a disc jockey here on the radio station, were you not?
Yeah, and in those days, you know, we worked with an engineer. Across the glass was your buddy who played the music. And then he pre-recorded things, and you had to cue him, and you had to give him signals and this sort of thing. You don't do that now, do you?
Well, guess what? We're coming full circle on that,
Are you?
Oh, yeah. We're going back to that because of the amount of talk shows that we do.
Yeah.
And this works much better. But in a music situation, you're right. That's unusual.
I want to say, if I could, Joe, something about my old friend Ray Shelton. He prided himself at one time on being the youngest announcer, which was just an accent of nature, but through it all.
Is that good or bad?
Well, I'm getting to the good part. The most congenial, affable associates any of us ever had here. Never heard him raise his voice in anger, and always.
You know, the other reason that I really wanted to have Ray on is because he is one man I've known over the years who really understands the. I don't mean to make such a big deal about this, but I can't emphasize it enough. The magic, the majesty of the broadcast business. You're one of those guys who really understands, took so seriously what you did, and you were so professional about it that I think it was just it's great to have you as a part of this program.
Well, I appreciate that. Milt will recall a couple of things before I leave, and then I know you need to get on. We signed off, Milt, as most stations did in the city, as you remember it, after the 12 midnight news for many years.
Yeah.
And also, when Bud Abbott did, was it Kentucky Calls America?
That's right. It was an all-night program.
We were heard every place, including Japan, on a submarine or something of the kind. There's a lot of great history behind this station. When I heard Hutzel on your opening cut and that full orchestra, man, I thought, boy, was I living well, and I've always known that.
Well, it had a big sound. I thought it sounded like a big orchestra, which it really was.
I'd never heard your show a half hour every day.
There was a gentleman who called me last night, in fact, who was in World War II and was in Germany very late in the war, and he said there were moments when the skip was rolling in late night when he could hear WHAS and was really in touch with home, and boy, that's a memory that I think I'll keep with me for a while. What a great story that was.
Well, Joe, you're doing a great job. I'm enjoying being with you. I started in 1950, stayed till 75, as you mentioned, and I still, with pride, mention WHAS. So it was very rewarding for me, and being hired at 22, I really was privileged to work with the top talent in Louisville.
Well, you have been and are one of the top talents in Louisville, Ray, and I thank you very much for being on the program with us tonight.
Congratulations,
Take
Joe.
Ray. Good luck, Ray.
Bye.
Good night, Ray.
We're going to take
one of those guys that have just one of the beautiful voices in this city.
We're going to take a quick break, come back after the news on 84 WHAS.
To win in sports, you've got to read the signs. You know, pick up the secondary, read the defense, anticipate the pickoff play. Reading the signs is critical. In business, signs can be just as important, and the faster you pick up the signs, the better. Hi, Tony Cruz here for Fast Signs. For schools, hospitals, banks, for anyone with a message to get out to a lot of people, Fast Signs can give you full service turnaround the very next day. That's why the signs and banners you see for 84 WHAS are made by Fast Signs, and their pricing is very competitive. So you get attention-grabbing signs fast without having to pay a huge premium. At trade shows throughout the office or factory, in your lobby, their signs look fabulous. Fast Signs will even help you design your sign. They offer full service, fair prices, and fast turnaround. Fast Signs has 2 locations, on Preston Highway between Fern Valley and the Outer Loop, and at Hurstbourne Parkway and Taylorsville Road. Or call 800-909-SIGN.